You ever walk past someone and think they don't matter? That's what everyone did to this homeless kid sitting alone in the park, until a few cruel teenagers decided to mock him for sketching on a piece of trash. But what they didn't know was that the drawing they laughed at would one day cover an entire city wall and turn the boy they ignored into the artist everyone would never forget. He sat alone on a splintered park bench, a few broken pencils scattered beside him, sketching quietly on a torn piece of cardboard he'd pulled from a trash bin. His clothes were too big, his shoes were falling apart, and his backpack looked like it had survived a storm. The city around him moved fast, cars honking, people rushing, no one stopping. To them, he was invisible, just another homeless kid taking up space. But to him, this small corner of the park was his world. It was where he watched the skyline change colors every evening and imagined what life might be like inside those tall glass buildings he loved to draw. That afternoon, while he was lost in his sketch, a group of teenagers walked by. They noticed him and slowed down, smirking. "Hey, look at this guy," one said, loud enough for others to hear. "Drawing on garbage? You gonna sell that for lunch money?" The boy didn't respond. He just kept drawing, his pencil moving carefully across the rough surface. That silence made them laugh harder. "Yo, I'm talking to you, Picasso," another one said, stepping closer. "You think you're some kind of artist?" He still didn't look up, just a soft, calm voice. "I just like to draw." One of the boys kicked the pencil case beside him, scattering the few colored pencils across the dirt. The boy froze for a second, then quietly bent down to pick them up, one by one. No anger, no shouting, just silence. When he stood up, one of them grabbed the cardboard and turned it around. For a moment, all three went quiet. It was stunning, a detailed drawing of the city skyline, the sun setting behind the buildings, light reflecting in every window. It didn't look like it was drawn by a kid. It looked professional, but instead of being impressed, the lead teen scoffed. "Cute," he said, and tore it right down the middle. The sound of the rip was louder than the laughter that followed. The boy didn't cry. He didn't say a word. He just picked up another piece of cardboard, brushed off the dirt, and started again. None of them knew that the picture they destroyed would one day be painted on the city's biggest wall, and that the boy they mocked would become the face of its most beautiful mural. His name was Liam, 14 years old, thin as a stick, with quiet brown eyes that always looked like they were seeing more than anyone else did. He used to have a normal life once, a small apartment, a school he liked, and a mom who called him her little artist. She'd hang his drawings on the fridge, no matter how messy they were. But when she passed away after a long illness, everything fell apart. His dad tried to keep things together, but bills piled up, and soon the eviction notice came. That's how Liam and his father ended up living in a tent at the edge of the city park. They showered in public restrooms, ate donated sandwiches, and tried to stay invisible. Still, Liam never stopped drawing. Every morning, he'd collect scraps, cereal boxes, old receipts, discarded paper, anything with a clean surface. He'd sit on the same park bench for hours, sketching the world as he saw it. Sometimes he'd draw the city skyline at sunset, other times the people walking by, mothers pushing strollers, kids chasing pigeons, couples holding hands. His pencils seemed to tell stories no one else noticed. People often ignored him, but he didn't mind. Art was his escape, his way of keeping his mom's voice alive in his heart. One chilly afternoon, as he drew under a tree, a woman stopped nearby. She was in her early 30s, carrying a sketchbook and a cup of coffee. Her name was Mia, a local artist who taught painting at a community center. She'd passed through this park hundreds of times, but had never noticed him until now. She watched him for a while, fascinated by the precision of his strokes. When she finally approached and peeked over his shoulder, her breath caught. On a torn cereal box, Liam had drawn an elderly woman feeding pigeons. The wrinkles on her face, the movement of the birds, it looked alive. "That's beautiful," Mia said softly. "Did you draw that from memory?" Liam looked up, a little startled, then shrugged. "No, I just watch people. Everyone has a story if you look long enough." That line hit her hard. In that quiet park, surrounded by noise and strangers, Mia realized this boy didn't just draw pictures. He captured life itself. The next morning, Liam was in his usual spot under the big oak tree, sketching the fountain across the park. His fingers were red from the cold, and the wind kept blowing his paper away. He didn't notice Mia walking toward him until she sat down beside him, holding a small brown box. "I thought you might need these," she said with a gentle smile. Inside were a brand new sketchbook, a full set of pencils, and a small pack of watercolor paints. Liam's eyes widened. "I can't take that," he said quickly. "It's too much." Mia shook her head. "You're not taking it. You're borrowing it, until your art hangs in a gallery." For a second, he didn't know what to say. No one had ever believed in him like that before. Not since his mom. From that day, Mia started visiting regularly. Sometimes she'd bring snacks, sometimes just sit nearby while Liam worked. She'd give small bits of advice, how to blend shadows, how to balance light, but mostly, she just let him be. The more they talked, the more she learned about his life, his mom, and his dream of painting something big enough for everyone to see. One evening, Mia took a few pictures of Liam's drawings and posted them online with a simple caption. "This young artist draws with nothing but heart and hope. His name is Liam. You'll remember it one day." The post exploded overnight. Hundreds of people shared it. Comments poured in from artists, teachers, and even local reporters. One message stood out. "Our city is planning a mural project about hope. You should show them his work." Mia didn't hesitate. The next week, she brought Liam to the city's art council meeting. He wore his dad's old shirt, too big for him, and clutched his sketchbook like it was made of gold. When he opened it to show his work, the room fell silent. The drawing spoke louder than any words he could have said. And when they saw his sketch of the city skyline, the same one those bullies had ripped apart, the head of the committee smiled and said, "This is it. This is the design we've been looking for." In that moment, Liam's life changed forever. 2 weeks later, the project began. A massive blank wall downtown had been chosen, an entire canvas waiting for color and life. Liam stood in front of it, holding a paintbrush almost as tall as his arm. He was nervous, but when he dipped the brush into the paint, all that fear faded away. Mia stood nearby, guiding him but letting him lead. His dad was there too, leaning quietly against the fence, watching his son do something he never thought possible. At first, people walked by curiously. Some recognized the story from social media. Others stopped just to see what a homeless kid artist could do. But as the days went by, the laughter stopped and admiration grew. Liam painted the city skyline just like his sketch, bright, hopeful, and full of life. Every detail told a story. A woman feeding pigeons, kids playing, a father and son sitting under a tree. Each piece was drawn from memory, from people he'd seen when no one saw him. Halfway through the mural, a familiar group appeared, the same teenagers who had mocked him in the park. They froze when they realized who he was. The boy they once bullied now stood on scaffolding, painting a masterpiece the entire city would remember. For a brief second, their eyes met. Liam gave a small nod, then turned back to his work. He didn't need revenge. The mural was enough. When the final brushstroke was done, the mayor invited everyone for the unveiling. Cameras flashed, people clapped, and reporters asked him how it felt. Liam smiled, standing beneath his towering mural, and said softly, "It feels good. But I hope next time someone sees a kid in the park, they stop and look closer." The mural changed everything. Overnight, Liam became a local hero. News stations covered his story, calling him the boy who painted hope. Schools invited him to speak. Art teachers showed his drawings to inspire their students. But through all the attention, Liam stayed humble. He still visited the park every day, the same one where it all began. Only now, when people passed by, they stopped to smile, to talk, or to take pictures with him. No one turned away anymore. With help from the community, Liam and his dad finally moved out of their tent into a small apartment. It wasn't fancy, just a single bedroom, a couch, and a tiny kitchen, but it was warm, safe, and theirs. His dad started working again, rebuilding his confidence, and every evening they'd sit together watching the sunset that once only existed in Liam's drawings. Mia helped him enroll in art classes, where he continued to grow his talent. His professors couldn't believe he'd never had formal training. But what amazed them most wasn't his skill, it was the heart behind every line he drew. Months later, on a quiet Sunday morning, Liam went back to his old park bench. The tree still stood tall, the fountain still sparkled, and the sounds of laughter filled the air. As he started sketching again, a little boy walked up shyly, holding a crumpled piece of paper. "Can you teach me how to draw like you?" the kid asked. Liam smiled, handed him a pencil, and said, "Sure. But first, tell me what you see." The two sat together, drawing side by side under the same tree where Liam's journey began. A reminder that sometimes the smallest acts of kindness can paint the biggest stories. And that's how a homeless kid with nothing but a pencil and a dream ended up inspiring an entire city. It's crazy how the people we overlook often have the brightest light inside them. All they need is someone to notice. If you believe everyone deserves a chance to be seen, hit that like button, share this story with a friend, and don't forget to subscribe for more true, powerful stories like this one.